Everyone, take a look at the front board. If you are interested in retaking something, pay close attention. Even if you got 100, pay attention because some people got things right by accident. And if this shows, eventually something from this will show up on a later test. I threw in a little bit of review throughout the tests. It might be just one linear programming problem. And what I do is those little pieces will count towards your January exam, which we're not going to have. You're going to have a research paper, and then you'll have these little review sections on each of the tests. I group all of those together. And all of those are redoable also. The main problem was these signs. If it's greater than, which directions are your choices for shading? Up or to the right? So check and see, did you shade up or to the right for x greater than 2? Or did you shade to the left? For y greater than 4, did you shade up instead of, up when you were supposed to, or did you do it down? And less than or equal to 10, that would mean that for the diagonal it had to be shaded below. So you ended up using those constraints. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's make a line from here to there. So as soon as I see that I have to shade below that, I might do something like this. This whole area is out of bounds because we're shading below, less than or equal to 10. Be careful. I labeled this X, I labeled this Y. Some people switch things up and it got them confused when they actually had to use the 8x plus 3y. If y is greater than or equal to 4, this is the y axis, so I look for 4. I come across, and which direction is greater than? Up. So everything below that is no good. It says no, not on. So we're confined to this little triangle area, and if I add in that x has to be greater than 2, which is right here, like a line this way, which direction is greater than? Right. To the right. So everything to the left is another situation where I have no, 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 no. What's the only area that doesn't have no? From here to here to here. Now some of you got that far. You figured out that that was your feasibility region. And then something went wrong when you labeled these points. Maybe you didn't label them all. Some people labeled this one 2, 8. Some people labeled this one 6, 4. And then for some reason they just disregarded that one. Take a look at your graph. Did you misrepresent your units? You have to be consistent with your units. 1, 2. Some people started with 1s and then they ended up with 2s later on. You have to be consistent. Can people see what they did wrong? Are we looking for a maximum or a minimum? Minimum. Well, which of these has the lowest numbers in it? 2 and 4. I still wanted you to show me that another point, like 2 and 8, turned out to be 16, 24, is that 40? Then 8 times 2 plus 3 times 4, 12, 16, 28. So you had to give me at least 2 points. You could have done them all. Some people did all of them. That's great. 8 times 2 is 16, 3 times, yeah, that's right. So 28 was the one that I wanted. Is that all the question was asking for? Minimum value. So all you had to write was the minimum value of C is 28. Some people didn't write down 28. They wrote down 2 and 4. I believe that would have given you full credit. There's only 2 questions on that part, so that was worth 50 points. If you got plus 25, it means you showed me something. You at least knew that the constraints were the things that were creating your lines. If you got plus 30, it usually meant that you got part of the way, maybe you shaded in the wrong direction. If you got plus 40, that meant that you substituted wrong. You did your multiplication wrong. That's fixable. Any questions off the first one? Second one, a little bit more work. Because you had to create the constraints. Here's what I did. I made X. Let's see. You could have easily put A there instead of X. I just chose to use X and Y axis. It said at least 3, but no more than 12. So somewhere in your constraints you should have had something that looked like that. And some people ignored this little part here. They thought it was just Y being related to 4, but it had to be a 15 there. Check and see if you missed out on part of the instructions. And then we're trying to actually create a score for a test. So score equal to 10x plus 25y. If you had some constraints written down, you probably got at least half credit. Take a look. Did you have something that looked similar to that, but maybe with A's and B's?
Right.
We'll put a little A here, a little B here. So I have X here, I have Y here. 3 and 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 20 would have been right at the end. Then 4 and 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Those are our key points. Let's see. In total, you can answer no more than 20. So that would have been your final constraint. Erase that. Most of the errors I saw in this one were graphing errors. Maybe you weren't setting up your graph symmetrically and your points were off just a little bit. Your feasibility region should have been this area in here, because it was less than or equal to 20, which meant that These were all no areas. Above the diagonal line was no good. No. No. And because it had to be between 4 and 15, this little triangular area was no. Some of you included that little triangle, but we can't go above 15. We can't go below here. We can't be over here. Some of you included that little triangle. We can't go around 3 and 12. This is a no area. Check your graphs, see what went wrong. Did you somehow switch this over to here and this down to here? Or did you combine them? Some people had 4 to 12 and 3 to 15. One big problem was this point right here. If your graph wasn't accurate, maybe you didn't have the correct coordinates of 5 and 15. Some people did it all right, and then they wrote down the wrong numbers. I don't know if you're rushing. This one was 3 and 15. 12, 5, 6, 7, 8. 12, 4. 3, 4. I think that's all of them. And this time we're looking for maximum. Out of all of those, our maximum would have been 5 and 15. And that gives me 425. Some of you got this far, and then you multiplied incorrectly. You did all that work, and then ended up with the wrong maximum. For this problem, you needed to show me both parts. You needed to tell me that I need 5 of type A and 15 of type B to get a maximum score of 425. That would have given you full credits. Are you locating your errors? You will see one of these show up on a future test. There's always going to be a review section from now on your next test. So a minimum of 3 sections on your future test. Usually 4, maybe 5. This was a short chapter. Just a way to get you used to the course. Any questions on this? Vocabulary. We needed B, C, D, E, A, and F. Inequalities are often called constraints. An example of maximum, we want more profit and we want less cost. Lots of different answers for that. I'm not going to write out the entire definition for linear programming and objective function. If you got half credit, you probably didn't write enough. Just saying that an objective function is an equation is not enough. Tell me a little bit more about optimal solutions. So I did need, if you had equation written down, you probably got half credit, but someplace in there you needed something about maximization, minimization, or maybe optimal solution within your sentence. Linear programming is a method used to maximize, minimize, using constraints and objective function. I'm not writing out the whole thing, but you needed some of these components to get full credit. if you're not sure why you got something wrong or whether you got half credit or not, come up and see me when we are all complete here. So you're getting the feel for what this course is going to be about. We're going to have our formative assessments. They're going to look almost exactly like what you're doing on the test. No surprises. And now, on all your subsequent tests, you'll have one section with maybe one problem from the previous test. So you know you're going to see another graphing problem showing up on a review section. I wonder if all that recorded.